episode 13. We got Twitch and YouTube up. Today's rundown will be the NFL, NCAA football, NCAA basketball, NASCAR with silly season going on. A lot of stuff has been able to switch around and move around in there. And then to end off the night, I will do the recap of the NBA. So you ready to go on and look at scores here, Dad? Alrighty. I'll go ahead and do the quick little rundown.
Where are we starting at?
NFL.
NFL.
All right, and then we can look at. We haven't done power rankings. We're forgetting to do that on Thursday. Crap.
We can do it for last week.
Yeah, but all the games I've played. That's the thing. So, so this week started on Thursday night where the Raiders and the Broncos played each other. Broncos ended up winning that one 10-7. Then in Berlin, the Falcons and Colts played. That game went into overtime, and the Colts won 31-25. I am so glad I had Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team as I played dad this week. And then the Bears beat the Giants. Brian Daboll has been fired from that. A lot of people are saying it's because of all the blown leads that the Giants have been having. But yeah, what do you think on the Giants fire of Brian Daboll after I think 4 years being in New York?
I don't have a problem with it. I hate it when anybody loses their job, but you look at the what the Giants are doing this year. They had a little bit of life in them. When Scadaboo was healthy, and with what Dart was doing, but this year they're 2-8. Last year, 2024, they were 3-14, and then 2023, 6-11. So
I think they made the playoffs one time with them. I believe it was 2022.
They did make the playoffs in 22. Looks like their last winning season, but even then it was 9-7 with a tie. So he's had 4 years to show you he can do something, and it seems like the longer he had advances in his tenure, you go from 9 wins to 6 wins to what was it, 3 wins last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a trajectory that you want to have as a coach or anything else, especially in arguably the largest market in the U.S., one of the largest markets in the world, New York. Now, granted, their counterparts, the Jets, are not doing much better, but I just think for the long term, you had to make that move. I say this about all coaching changes, though. Who do you get to replace him? Who's out there?
The OC is going to be their interim head coach.
Yeah.
Reports about that came over. And then another news from Adam Schefter today. I saw this on Instagram from Schefter. But the Commanders head coach, Dan Quinn, he's stepping down to defensive coordinator. So I don't know who's going to be head coach for the Commanders. I would guess probably him and the DC are swapping, I guess. I don't know. But Bills and Dolphins played. The Dolphins won that one 30-13. Ravens and the Vikings played, and was this McCarthy's comeback?
Last week was when he won in Detroit.
So, last week was.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ravens won 27-19 victory. They're now 4-5, so they're crawling back. The Jets beat the Browns in the Fernando Mendoza Bowl. I saw 27-20. Patriots beat the Buccaneers 28-23. Saints beat the Panthers. Panthers are right now 5-5. Texans beat the Jaguars.
And an epic collapse by the Jaguars. Epic collapse.
Oh yeah, 26 points in one quarter.
Yeah,
not good.
That game was 20-10 going into halftime. 29-10 going into the fourth quarter, and the Texans rip off, as Jeremiah said, 26 points in the fourth quarter to end up winning that game by 7, 36-29.
And then the Seahawks dog walk the Cardinals.
7-2 are the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
7-2.
They're quiet.
Brissett had another really good game. I know he lost, but 250, 6 yards. So another solid game for him. In Kyler Murray's, absence, no picks. Granted, only 50% completion. But 22 of 44, 258, almost 6 yards per average, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Darnold, surprisingly, only had 12 attempts, completed 10 of them. But when you're rushing the ball for 198 yards and you have that defense behind you, you don't have to do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. And then the Rams destroyed the 49ers 42-26 there. Mac Jones still having 319 yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. Then the Lions destroy the Commanders in a get-back game. The top 3 performers for the Lions were Goff, Gibbs, and Williams. Williams with 119 yards and a touchdown. Gibbs with 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Goff with 320 and then 3 touchdowns. And then on Sunday Night Football, the Chargers beat the Steelers 25-10.
Yeah, Goff with only 8 incompletions in that game, 25 of 33. That's pretty incredible. No picks. Had he played like that last year in that playoff game, Detroit would certainly be, or they would have been advancing in the playoffs. But give him credit. Look at the rushing, 320 yards through the air, 226 yards on the ground compared to Washington's total rushing yards of 93. Mariota played well, 16 of 22, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. But yeah, in Washington, the Lions win 44-22.
And then right now, the Eagles and Packers are locked at 0. 9:38 left in the second quarter. Right now, looking at my ESPN. Okay. Looking at the new standings so far, your division leaders starting in the AFC East, the New England Patriots are leading that division at an 8-2 record. What do you do if you're the Patriots? Are you a little worried about Buffalo, or are you comfortable with your 7-game win streak and Drake may be an MVP frontrunner?
I'm extremely comfortable. As the old saying goes, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Buffalo, I'm not going to say they're reeling because Buffalo is going to be fine. But Buffalo did lose this past weekend to Miami. So I'd be more worried about that. But again, you've won 7 in a row. So again, the last time you lost a game, you were 1-2. So if I'm New England, you've got a couple game and a half lead in the division. I'm not worried about it. Again, how about that? How about that for an upset where the Bills go down to Miami and lose 30-13, and those 13 points for the Bills came in the fourth quarter. And again, the Dolphins scoring 14 in that quarter. So going into that fourth quarter was 16-0. Dolphins, and there was a little bit of an offensive explosion in that fourth quarter. What about you? How are you feeling if you're Buffalo right now? Lost 1, just lost to Miami, who is now 3-7, and now you're looking up at the Patriots, who are 8-2 and have an MVP caliber candidate as their quarterback.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what I can try to get that number 1 spot back, because that's a guaranteed playoff spot if you win your division, I believe. So if I'm Buffalo, I mean, Buffalo will probably still get into playoffs solely based off record, but right now I think Buffalo is still trying to get what they can. Josh Allen trying to win that Super Bowl, and so I think New England should stay both teams should really stay comfortable. Then in the AFC North, the Steelers are leading that division, ahead of Baltimore. Steelers are 5-4, Baltimore 4-5. So, what do you think on that division?
I think um, I think Baltimore's healthy. They've won 3 in a row now. I think that's Baltimore's to lose now. I know they hit kind of a skid that we talked about and chronicled, but with Jackson being hurt and now they're kind of getting healthy, kind of hitting a stride again. I look for Pittsburgh not to necessarily fade because I still think Pittsburgh's going to be right there, but I do look for the Baltimore Ravens to kind of surge ahead and take control of that division. I think they leapfrog the Steelers eventually, and I do think the AFC North is I think it's the Ravens to lose. Now again, anything can happen as they've already learned this year. With Lamar going down, hopefully Henry can stay healthy. Um, you know, the Bengals are supposed to get Burrow back around Thanksgiving, so we'll see if they're
Hmm.
not out of it, if it's not too little, too late. And the Browns they're just the Browns.
Yeah,
Um, so I see it as Baltimore's to lose. I mean, they're only a game out right now, and what's impressive to me is Baltimore riding that 3 game winning streak as they have. Trying to find their schedule here. We had it, but as they're just here we go. They beat the Bears, the Dolphins, and the Vikings.
mm,
You know, have the Browns coming up, the Jets. They have a really favorable schedule the next 3 weeks for sure. And then December 7th, what could be a game that will say a lot about that division when the Steelers come calling in Baltimore again on December 7th. But their next 3 games are very, very, very winnable at Cleveland,
that's a
and
tough
then
way to go out, though.
two at home to the Jets and the Bengals. They play the Bengals twice in 3 weeks. But after that, their last 3 games of the year are pretty tough. They'll have some playoff implications. Last 3 games, home to the Patriots, and then on the road to the Packers, and on the road at the Steelers. No doubt the NBA schedule and NFL schedulers are hoping that last game at Pittsburgh has something to say about playoff positions, playoff seeding, and the division.
Do you think Cincinnati could possibly sneak away with that division, or at least second place in that division, make playoffs? Because Joe Burrow, he's back to practicing, just very monitored at the moment, and like you said, they're supposed to get him back very soon. Could you, and maybe if the defense fixes itself a little bit, do you think Cincinnati could possibly sneak, or still
Well,
Baltimore's to lose?
the only reason I've been saying there's a shot is they're only 2 games out. The leader of that division is 5-4. You're sitting there at 3-6, but man, Thanksgiving is still a couple weeks away. It's really just going to depend on what happens the next couple weeks. I would like for him to make a run. I think when you have Burrow and the Bengals when they're good, it's good for football. But man, the Bengals, the rest of the Bengals schedule, or at least the next few weeks are tough. Jer, you're at Pittsburgh, then you're home to the Patriots, then you're at the Ravens, at the Bills, then you play the Ravens again. Then you close the year with 3, even now, what I would call winnable games at the Dolphins. And then you close the year with 2 at home against the Cardinals, against the Browns. I think it's going to be a tough and a tall order when you're looking up at those 2 teams as well as they have played. Um, so, Jared, I'd love to see it, but we'll just see because their next 3 weeks or so, whatever we just talked about, their schedule it's not doing them any favors, whatsoever. Right now, they're the 11 seed, so they're looking up at a lot of teams, looking up at Houston, looking up at Kansas City, looking up at Jacksonville, Buffalo, Chargers and those top 4 seeds in the AFC, Indianapolis, Denver, New England, and Pittsburgh, because those are your current division leaders.
Hmm. And then down to the AFC South, where the very dominant Colts are leading that one. The Colts are undefeated whenever they play at Lucas Oil,
Undefeated.
which is
And undefeated
interesting.
in their division. Only one loss in the conference,
Hmm.
outscoring opponents by 115 points. Um, and then they just picked up, Sauce. We talked about that last week. So you have to believe their defense is getting even better on the back end. Um,
And
uh,
like we read a couple weeks ago, when Ward gets back, Javarius Ward, if he stays at the level he was at the start of the season, then Indianapolis could be very very competitive.
yeah, Indy is dangerous.
Hmm.
Um, very very dangerous. What a great surprise! Great for that city, and they've got a decent stretch coming up this week. They're at Kansas City, then they're home to the Texans, then they're at the Jaguars, at the Seahawks, then home to the Niners, home to the Jags, closing the year at the Texans. You could say, you know, most of those games are winnable games. It'll be tough on the road at the Chiefs, but you got to think they can be a favorite against the Texans, the Jags. At Seattle's going to be tough on
Hmm.
December 14th. That's tough. Seattle's playing really well. The 12th man. Home, you got to like them at home against the Niners. You got to like them at home against the Jags, and you got to like them even on the road at Houston. So their future looks pretty bright, Jer. I see maybe getting tripped up at KC, and then maybe likely getting tripped up in Seattle. So you're looking at a team with maybe 4, 5 at the most losses come the end of the year.
Hmm. And then down to the AFC West, where Denver is leading at 8-2, and then just on their heels is the 7-3 Chargers, Kansas City third, and then Las Vegas down there at
You
the
know what's
bottom.
you know what's crazy if you're a Broncos fan or part of that organization. The
Hmm.
Broncos have won 7 in a row,
That's
just
one thing.
just like the Patriots have. Eventually, one of those teams are going to lose.
Well, the people are a little skeptical right now of because I saw a thing of the for the Broncos people. This one person was questioning how good they were because their last two wins were against the Raiders and Texans, and they won both of those games by a field goal. And then they snuck out against the Giants and the Jets. So some people are questioning how good are the Broncos really. Um, I think we're gonna find that out closer to the end of the season because they end their season off against the Packers, Jags, Chiefs, and Chargers. So, what do you think about Denver so far? Do you question them a little bit on how good they are of a football team, really, or do you believe in them?
I believe in them. Um, I believe in Coach Payton. Um, I believe. I believe in these guys. You don't roll up in the NFL in my mind and win 7 in a row. I believe in Bo Nix. Um, so yeah, I'm a fan. But even with that being said, they're sitting there at 8-2. They've won 7 in a row. So the last time they lost, they're 1-2. As great as you played, right behind you, they've won 3 in a row. Are those pesky Chargers sitting there at 7-3? So, and then the Chiefs are back at 5-4, and then the Vegas way in the rearview mirror at 2-7. So, how are you feeling if you're Denver? I mean, you're sitting there at 8-2, won 7 in a row, but you just cannot shake those Chargers. You have a game lead, and you've won 7 in a row.
I'm trying to keep the streak up as much as I can, or hopefully the Chargers finally drop one. Who do the Chargers play next? The Chargers play Jacksonville next on the 16th. So, I mean, the next couple of games, the next two for sure are definitely winnable for the Chargers. They got the Jags and then the Raiders. But then after they play the Jags and Raiders, their next three are a little tough. You got Philadelphia, Dallas, and Kansas City. They are on the road to Kansas City and Dallas. So, what do you think about those next few games for the Chargers, or where the Broncos are probably hoping they're just going to slip at one point?
Yeah, you've got two very winnable games. Jaguars, certainly they're not going to roll over for you. But you got to think. that's a winnable game, at least on paper. You got to like your chances against the Raiders. Then yes, then sitting there on Monday Night Football looks like on December the 8th, the Eagles come calling, then the Chiefs. So that 2 week stretch right there is pretty brutal. Then you kind of, it eases up a little bit with at the Cowboys, home to the Texans, and then everything is shaping up right now for that last game of the year where the Chargers go to the Broncos, where there could be a lot on that line, a potential bye, who's going to be the wild card, seeding. If these two teams continue to play like this, where they're only separated by one game, that one game right there at the very end of the year where they roll into Denver Mile High, that could be a very entertaining game with a ton of storylines attached to it.
Mm-hmm. And then technology. Then moving over to the NFC, starting in the NFC East. Um, Philadelphia is once again leading that division at 6-2. I think they're really comfortable because Dallas is 3-5-1. Washington's been injured, making them 3-7, and then the Giants who are 2-8. So
Yeah, and here's what's tough about that division is the Cowboys as of now have lost two in a row. Washington's lost five in a row. Granted, I know they don't have Daniels. I know so they're not what they could be, but we're just talking about reality here. Cowboys lost two in a row. Commanders lost five in a row. The Jets have lost four in a row, while the Eagles are on a two-game winning streak. So, yeah, unless the Eagles have, God forbid, some kind of injury, they should be ready and able just to kind of roll away and hide in that division for sure. Just not a great division. However, they've got a big game coming up tonight, as you know, at Green Bay. Then Detroit goes to Philly. So couple weeks stretch here. A couple weeks later, they got the Bears who are playing very very well. Then they got to play the Chargers. Then they close the year at Buffalo, and then home to Washington. So they've got 3 or 4 games in there that they don't need to kind of just give the division away yet, Chair. What do you think? Because their schedule is kind of on one, off one. It's kind of almost alternating winnable versus difficult, if not, games where they could potentially lose.
yeah, just run away with it at this point. Just hide. Try to get that division, get another bye. And then moving on to the NFC North, you got the very close NFC North where Green Bay 5-1, Detroit 6-3, and then Chicago 6-3, then Minnesota 4-5.
Yeah. Give the Bears credit. They have the longest winning streak in that division right now, having won two in a row. They are tied with for second as far as record in that division. I think a story that we've not heard a lot of people talk about or seen or read is the Chicago Bears. What a great job! Um, I always get them mixed up. What a great job that coach is doing there.
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, what a great job he's doing there, and just it's pretty cool to see. The Bears have not been good for a very very long time. Williams playing better. So to me, that's that. Outside of maybe how well New England's playing and Denver's playing, you gotta have Chicago right there as great surprising storylines for this year, at least to this point.
Mm-hmm. And then moving on down to the NFC South, you got Tampa Bay who's 6-3, Carolina 5-5, Falcons are 3-6, and then 2-8 Saints. And the thing about the Falcons is sometimes they just come out and just throw a big heavy hitting upset. I think they've done that a few times this year where they've been a good team. Um, like let's see, who's a good team that they've beaten? They've come out and beat the Commanders, Bills. So
Here's what's crazy about these guys. They lose 30-0 to the Panthers. Panthers are playing decent ball this year, 500 ball. But you only lose by 3 to the Bucks. You beat the Bills. Um, you lose by 1 point at New England, and then you only lose by 6 in overtime to the Colts. So I don't know how you describe this team other than maybe up and down.
Hmm.
Because a lot of these games are close. You lose to the Niners by 10. That's not a lot. The Dolphins destroy you, though. The Panthers destroy you. Um, so who knows what they've got? They got the Panthers this week coming up. Then they're at New Orleans, at New York. All very winnable games for these guys. But then they're home to the Seahawks. You got to favor the Seahawks there. At the Bucks, at the Cardinals, then the Rams. So they've got a pretty tough schedule overall in my mind ahead of them. I just don't know who these guys are because they're up 1 week down the next.
Yeah, I think we both put it well there. Like when I said they just come out and just throw in a big punch and then lose for a couple weeks and just
Mm-hmm.
come back out, throw another big punch, or at least have a close game,
Yep.
and then lose for a couple more weeks. Um, and then over to the NFC West, tied for first right now in that division are the 7-2 Seahawks and Rams, and right there at 6-4 is San Francisco. So, and then the Rams and the Seahawks are both on a 4-game winning streak, but I think I would give the edge to the Seahawks right there. I just feel like they've been the better team recently. And then of course picking Shaheed from the trade deadline.
Yep.
So what do you think?
I agree. You pulled out the stat that I was going to look at. Both teams have not lost in a month, having won 4 in a row. Both teams are 7-2. If I'm either one of those teams or coaches, I'm asking myself, what do I have to do to pull away in this division? I mean, you every time you win and you go look at the score sheet, the Rams have won. If you're the Seahawks, every time you're the Rams, you go back and look at the score sheet, and the Seahawks
The
have
Rams
won
and the Seahawks play each other on the 16th, so Sunday at 4
Sunday.
p.m.
So the battle right now for the division.
Mhm.
Please tell me that's like the main NBC game or something. Please tell me that's
It's
not like.
on Fox at 4:05.
Come on. Fox must have some kind of contract deal there. That's gonna be a. Where's the game at?
That is in L.A.
Okay, so a little home field advantage for LA. So obviously, one of these things has to give. I think I'm with you with the Seattle Seahawks. With that defense.
But here's the thing. I just
Yeah.
saw this right here. I'm looking at the Seahawks main thing. Their starting center is out for weeks. Let me see here. Jalen Sundell will miss multiple weeks with a knee injury, Coach Mike McDonald said on Monday. He apparently suffered it in the second quarter while they were playing Arizona. Last week in the 44-22 victory. So what are you thinking on that part?
I still with Darnold and his veteran. You never want to lose your center. I don't think most people realize how important the center is. He's the guy that touches the ball every play. He's got to know if the quarterback is under center, if he's in shotgun. He's got to take care of pass protection, see blitzes, call audibles. The center is an incredibly important position. But you got to believe an organization like the Seahawks is going to have next man up, and a guy like Darnold who's been around. I don't see that necessarily, swaying one way or the other for the Seahawks. Ideally, I mean, obviously, you want your center healthy, you want all your guys healthy. But while it is a big story, I don't think, for me, it doesn't sway things one way or the other as far as are the Seahawks in trouble or anything. I would still, as of right now, if I'm picking one or the other, I'm gonna ride with the Seahawks.
Seahawks are also undefeated at home as well. I mean, not at home, on the road. And of course, JSN, he's been having a breakout year. I think he's been in some MVP talks, but yeah, I'd still give it to the Seahawks though. Kenneth Walker's been playing well. JSN's been playing well. Darnold's been playing well. So just everyone on that team has been executing. The defense has been executing. So I'd still give it to Seattle though for that win on Sunday.
Yeah, again, it's for early, but it's for control of the NFC West. Like you said, those two teams play each other this week. Um, but then, man, what a schedule for the Seahawks! It doesn't get much easier. You've got at LA, then you've got the Titans. The Then you are home to the Vikings, then at the Falcons, but then you play the Colts, the Rams again, and then at Carolina, at San Francisco.
So maybe what, 2 losses again? So maybe a 13-14.
Yeah, then LA, man, their schedule's about the same. You've got the Seahawks and you've got the Bucks. At the Panthers are playing well, especially at home, 500 ball. At the Cardinals, then you have the Lions, Seahawks, those up and down Falcons, and then you close the season, in the season up, home against those Arizona Cardinals. So both teams with a lot of
have 5 losses. Maybe
both teams with a
most.
lot of work to do. They've got 3 or 4 games out there that could go either way. They've got a couple 2 or 3 that they should win. But as we learned this week, who saw the Bills going down to Miami and losing like they did. These are still grown men. These are still the best players in the world, in the NFL, and anything can happen. But at this point, we're 10 weeks in the season, 11 weeks wherever we are. At this point, we're kind of starting to see who's going to separate themselves from the other teams.
Mm-hmm. And then looking at the latest playoff picture, the Ravens now have a 64% chance to make playoffs, and ESPN's giving them a 62% chance to win that division as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they did go down on the Chiefs a little bit, because last time we looked at this, it was extremely biased to the Chiefs. When we last looked at this a couple weeks ago. Instead of giving the Chiefs a 1-4 shot to make the Super Bowl, they put them down to a 19% chance to make the Super Bowl. They give them a 76% chance to make playoffs and a 25% chance to win that division. So what do you think? Do you think ESPN's still high with those numbers on the Chiefs, or do you think they are perfect for the Chiefs?
I think ESPN, God bless them, God love them. I just think they're always high on the Chiefs. I think those teams. Let me go back here. I think those teams that have passed them are just simply better than them. I'm trying to find. Here we go. Look at the conference here. Right now they're 8th in the conference. Are they better than Jacksonville? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
That would move them to 7. But are they really better
than
Buffalo?
7.
Are they really better than Buffalo? I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
Are they better than the Chargers? It's a push at best.
No.
Are they better than Pittsburgh?
Probably. Pittsburgh didn't play their best as well.
So a push at best. They've proven they're not better than New England, Denver, or Indy right now.
So they're 6th best team.
So right around right now, we're seeing they're the 6th or so best team in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
So they lost.
And then Baltimore's getting hot down there. So
yeah, Baltimore's behind them, and I just see Baltimore passing them. Baltimore's healthy. Baltimore's scary.
So 7th, maybe 6th or 7th.
You're looking at not to use that, but yeah, you're looking at the 6th or 7th best team in their own league, in their own conference. Let alone the league. In the league, they're looking up at a lot of teams.
Yeah, with that 19% chance to make the Super Bowl, that puts them above Baltimore at 10%. The Chargers at 10%.
They're only a game under they're only a game over 500. Not playing very well away from Kansas City. 1-3 on the road, 4-1 at home. They're only outscoring teams this year by 76 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of concerning with that offense with Mahomes. But the teams are looking up at right now, they're looking up at Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Chicago, Detroit, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, LA Chargers, Eagles, Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, Broncos, Colts. So they're looking up at a lot of teams. The year's about halfway gone. They've got a big hill to climb in their division. Who are they looking up in their division? Looking up at the Chargers, looking up at Denver.
Next hottest team in the league.
They might be the 3rd best team in their division. We talked about this earlier in the year, let alone, going very far. So can they make the playoffs? They certainly can.
Yeah.
But I just think so many teams have passed them by. At least for this year, as we know, dynasties don't last forever. Just ask the Tom Brady New England Patriots,
Felt
Father
like that
Time.
dynasty lasts
It
forever
it
though.
did, but Father Time is undefeated.
Hmm. But yeah, with that 19% chance to make the Super Bowl, that puts them over Baltimore. That puts them over the Chargers, the Bills, and the Broncos and the Patriots. The only team they have above the Chiefs for the Super Bowl is the Indianapolis Colts. So that's what all of that looks like right now.
Even there, they have the third best. They have the third best percentage according to ESPN to make the playoffs out of their own division.
Hmm.
Denver's ahead of them, Chargers are ahead of them,
Hmm.
and then it's them, and they're saying they've got a better shot than Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I probably agree with those.
Hmm.
Um, but they're still looking up at a lot of teams. Where they got them? They got them 19% for the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
So only Indy is higher based on
Yeah.
these ESPN. So they think only Indianapolis has a better chance to reach in the out of the AFC the Super Bowl than do the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hmm.
I just I can't agree with that. I'm sorry, ESPN. I know you're a lot smarter than I am and have a lot more resources, but I can't agree with that. What do you think?
I'm on your side. I just don't get how a. Of course, they were hurt by injuries at the start of the year. Rashid Rice was suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season, and then Xavier Worthy got tackled by his own teammate in Rio, and so I mean, but still, the Chiefs, they're a good football team, but they're not a 1 in 5 chance to make the Super Bowl good, or like I don't see them making the AFC Championship right now. Um, I could right now my AFC Championship is probably New England or Indy, or New England, Denver, Denver, Indy. I think one of those three teams will be in the AFC Championship, or like two of those three will play each other in the AFC Championship, but not Kansas City. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Based on everything you've seen, I look down and I see the Chargers. I just be careful. I know we're not, but sleeping on those guys.
I think they
Um,
still have some injuries on the defensive side of
mm-hmm.
the ball.
But sitting there at 7-3, I think this is a good thing. I think the NFL is maybe more wide open than it's ever been. There's just I don't think there's that team. What do you think? Is there that one team that you look at and you're like, yeah, they're a lock. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Again, you've got two teams that have won 7 in a row, two teams that have won 4 in a row, two teams that have won 2 in a row, and other than that, these teams are going on a one-game winning streak, lose one. You're playing 500 ball,
Mm-hmm.
so and that's good. Like that's good. You don't have the Colts or the Patriots or the Eagles of the past where you're like, what's going to be second place? I don't think you have that this year. I think there's a lot more parity. Yeah, they're still an upper echelon, but I think there's a lot more parity, and that's good for us as BS fans.
Mm-hmm. So down to the NFC side of the playoff picture, ESPN giving the Rams a 22% chance to make the Super Bowl. They give Philly 97% chance to make the playoffs, 96% chance to win that division, 21% chance to win that to make the bye, and then 19 to make the Super Bowl. Then they give the Rams 95% chance to make playoffs, 54% chance to win that division, and then 31% to earn the bye, and then 22% to make the Super Bowl. I think 22 might be high because, like we just said for the AFC, it's very close right now in on both sides. And then, of course, 54%. Okay,
Here's what's
it's either way right now between them and
sorry.
Seattle.
Here's what's interesting to me. Um, they're saying that the Detroit Lions have a less percentage as far as a shot to get to the playoffs than San Francisco, Seattle, Tampa Bay, the Rams, and the Eagles. Yet the best chance in their division, where they're essentially tied for third,
Mm-hmm.
but the best chance in their division to make the playoffs. That's something that I cannot reconcile because back to back to back in these particular rankings on ESPN, to make the playoffs, Detroit Lions 83%, Packers 80%, Chicago 44%, and the greatest team that they think can go the farthest is the Lions with the 83% chance to go to the playoffs, 46% to win the division, 11% to get the bye, 15% chance to get the Super Bowl. So that's interesting. You have three NFC West teams ahead of them overall,
Now ESPN does like California.
and then you have a team who's tied for third in their division with the Bears. Yet you're giving them the best shot out of that division to make the playoffs. That's interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like the Green Bay Packers would be a little higher if, like, what we talked about, what was that, last week, 2 weeks ago, if they were a bit more, um, probably playing a little better. Like we said, they were a small disappointment, not a big disappointment, but a small disappointment because we thought the Packers would be better after picking up Micah and getting some good players out of the draft and just them looking like a good team in the off season. But what do you think on that for Green Bay?
Yeah, I think 80% is. Are you saying do you think 80% is low or high or spot on? What are you saying?
I say it's a little low, in my opinion. Like I'd give them probably the same chance as Detroit to make
Yeah,
playoffs.
yeah, I think it's very very close. If anything, you give Green Bay a nod right now
Mm-hmm.
because they won head to head. Granted, it was at Lambeau very very early in the year, but when these teams did meet head to head, face to face on the same field at the same time, Green Bay did win. So that's got to be worth something. Now Detroit will have a chance to get the grudge match eventually because that's a division matchup. So eventually Green Bay will come to Ford Field. Um, but I would have Green Bay probably a little bit higher percentage, at least to make the playoffs. I mean, right now you're saying there's
Mm-hmm.
an 8-10 shot, and you're leading your division right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, we know it's so early in the year, anything can happen. But it's just interesting that you give Detroit the best chance to make the playoffs in that division if they're tied for third in that very, very difficult division.
Now, if any of these teams are high, I'd probably give that to San Francisco.
Oh
Them
yeah,
having an 86% chance, saying they have a better chance than Detroit and Green Bay, I would probably put San Fran probably down to like the 70%, maybe 80%. I'd probably not over Chicago, probably at the same spot as Chicago, but San Francisco at 86, and then 10% to make the Super Bowl.
yeah. A team that right now is third in their division again, 2 games behind, 6-4. You're only outscoring teams by 10 points all year. You've only
Mm-hmm.
scored 220 points. Or excuse me, they've been outscored. Forgive me. They've been outscored by 10 points. They've only scored 220. They've given up 230, lost one. Um, and to give them, I don't know if they're thinking injuries. I don't know if they're thinking Brock Purdy's going to be back and be the savior.
The defense is
Um,
really hurt though. They have a lot of guys hurt on the defensive side of the ball. Not sorry to interrupt
no,
you, but I guess they're putting a lot of faith into Brock Purdy when he gets back because that defense is very hurt right now.
that's all I can think is they're just waiting for something or somebody to get back. Um, but right now, Seattle and the LA Rams they're kind of going off and hiding again. Each team riding a four game winning streak.
I wonder if it's their schedule because I'm right now looking at San Francisco's schedule. After the 42-26 loss to the Rams, they then play the Cardinals, Panthers, Browns, Titans, Colts, Bears, Seahawks. So that's one that Bears won't be tough, but with them being at home, I'll probably edge that to the 49ers. If I see one, two losses out of all of that, those two being the Colts and the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, three at the absolute most, like you're saying. The Bears kind of that toss up, like you said, that's home. Um, looks like that's the big game on Big Peacock NBC on the Sunday after whatever that date is after Christmas, the 28th, December 28th. Um, yeah, their schedule is more favorable for sure than some others that we have seen, and that's another question is do the 49ers stick with Mac Jones or when Brock Purdy gets back in there, does he get a shot, and if he does he have a short lease because they're playing okay, with Mac Jones, so Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, there's a lot of folks smarter than me.
I
But
mean, they
to
also could be putting a lot of faith into this offense too, because when Brock Purdy gets back, they'll have Brock Purdy. They still Christian McCaffrey's been playing really well this year. Jawan Jennings, they still have him, and then they got arguably best or probably best tight end in the NFL and George Kittle. Um, but on defense, they're just very hurt. Fred Warner's out for the year. Nick Bosa's on IR. So I think that's what ESPN's looking at here is probably schedule and then putting a lot of faith into this 49ers offense. What do you think?
yeah, I agree. I think for them to be ahead of some of the teams they're ahead of, at least the next three, is questionable to me. Those three teams they're ahead of being Detroit, Green Bay, and Chicago, all out of the NFC North. It's interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then let's see, they give who has the highest chance out of so yeah, the Rams have the highest chance to make the Super Bowl according to ESPN, 22%, then Philly at 19, then after Philly, Detroit at 15. Then after Detroit, they have it tied between 11% to Green Bay and Seattle. Um, but then they give San Fran a 10% chance to make it, then Tampa Bay a 9% chance, and then they give the Bears a 2% chance to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think I agree with those teams, but maybe not in that order. Um, Again, I will just still give the nudge to Philly, um, and then I'm just going to maintain, Detroit, just because I'm a homer, and then maybe the Rams. So I think I agree with those three teams for sure, but perhaps not in that order. I think I
Mm-hmm.
would swap the Rams. Um,
Yeah,
I think I have Rams three. I think I'm going Philly, Detroit, and then Rams.
I think the top three teams in the NFC is Philly, LA, and Seattle. Philly shows it on record, but I think I think out of those three, between the Rams, the Eagles, and the Seahawks, I would probably really close like all these teams, and it's hard to make this choice, but I give it to the Seahawks. I feel like Seahawks is the best in the NFC right now. I'd give it Seahawks, Eagles, Rams, and then right there Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, in my opinion, see, right now my Super Bowl matchup would probably be Seahawks Colts.
Here's another thing to think about. Both the Rams and the Seahawks cannot win the division.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those teams is going to be a wild card no matter what the record is.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those teams with a potential bye,
Yeah, I think.
and the other one having to go on the road. So that's what's interesting is both teams playing so well in the same division. It's kind of what happened with the Lions and the Vikings last year.
Yeah, I think whoever wins that Rams Seahawks game on next Sunday, I think that's who is going to be, as of Week 10. I think that's who your NFC representative is going to be in the Super Bowl. In my opinion, or at least second place in the NFC, probably behind Philly, unless Tampa goes insane in the last half of the season. Same thing with Detroit and possibly San Fran. Everything we have for the NFL. All right, on to going into half, Philly and Green Bay are tied. So going into the NCAA football now. Do you want to start with scores from last week
Yeah, it was
or
a. Let me start
rankings?
here. It was a really good week for us because both our teams had a bye week, and
Mm-hmm.
as it turned out, great week to have a bye week.
Very.
Um, so yeah, I think, man, for me, I watched it because at the end of the game, I'm talking about the Indiana Penn State game. At the end of that game, Penn State had a shot to
What
win it.
a catch.
That might be the story of the season. That certainly may be the catch of the season. That may, as Gus Johnson, said, that may cement, um, Indiana's quarterback into the Heisman lead, if not have, most of it locked up. Being Mendoza. Um, man, just the way he drove the ball down the field when he had to, with what, one timeouts, no timeouts, um, was pretty incredible. And then that Cooper kid, man, that toe touch he did in the end zone was nothing short of amazing. I mean, Mendoza puts the ball up where only his guy can get it. It's going there. It's going in the first row. And to have the body control he had to bring it down, and man, Gus Johnson on that call, a lot of folks are giving him flack. The thing I love most about him is he's a fan just like us. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He's reacting real time just like we are. And with the gravity of that moment, the kid made a play. Mendoza made a play. The defender he played great defense. I mean, he was in the right position. The guy just went up, made a catch. He's trying to shove him out of bounds. It was just a fantastic play. On what kept Indiana undefeated, what kept them was what I think is the best team in the country. I know Ohio has that one beside them, but it's been chronicled. You can go, look, if you're an Ohio fan, get over it. Go look at your schedule, who have you played, and look at compared to some other teams you played. Nobody, you've yet to be challenged this year. I think Indiana is the best team in the country right now. But yeah, Jeremiah, to your point, that catch was unbelievable. It was such a great catch, and another reason why college football is perhaps the greatest sport that we have in front of us today.
Yeah, it was crazy. That probably did cement Indiana as number one. But Ohio, they beat Purdue 34-10. A&M beat Missouri 38-17. Alabama beat LSU 20-9. I think Garrett Nussmeier got benched again in that game. Georgia beat Mississippi State. Ole Miss beat Citadel, and then Texas Tech destroyed BYU 29-7. Oregon snuck out against Iowa 18-16. Notre Dame destroyed Navy 49-10. Wake Forest with the upset on number 14 Virginia, and then Louisville upset on California beat Louisville.
Yeah, can I play this? Hold
Yeah,
on.
you can.
This is Gus Johnson losing his mind.
I don't think it played. I can't hear it through here.
I don't know if you can hear it. I hope you can.
Here, put it like this. A lot of voice cracking in that.
He was all of us, you know. Of course, they went to review. I mean, the back judge where he was supposed to be,
That was a great call by that ref.
just great all the way around. But yeah, Jerry, you chronicled, Ohio State beating Purdue after scoring 24 points in the second quarter. Indiana Penn State, a classic. Give those kids from Penn State credit. They could have packed it up. They could have phoned it in. The fans, that place was electric. If you did not, I don't know how you couldn't have known, but let's just say you live under a rock and don't have internet or a cell phone. You take the records out. It was a big time college game, and just unbelievable. So I have a lot of respect for Penn State. They could have folded in fans, players, coaches, and they haven't. And you can argue should have won that game. They were that play away from a massive upset. A&M dog walks. I just feel like, Jeremiah, nobody's talking about A&M. And A&M's probably okay with that. You keep talking about Ohio. You keep talking about Indiana. You keep talking about Oregon, Georgia. You keep talking about them. That's fine. We'll just continue to float under the radar. And when we show up on Saturday, we will beat you.
Marcel Reed, I think he's the only one making big noise out of Penn State. Not Penn State, A&M, just because he's in the Heisman race.
Missouri, not an easy place to play. Missouri's a very, very good team, ranked team.
I just felt bad for Missouri. They've been kind of like that team that all the ranked teams go to for a win, when they're still ranked. I just feel
Yeah.
bad for Mizzou.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of that can't get over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
Bama, LSU, what could have been 5-4 now, 2-4 in the SEC. They're done. You got to think they can make a bowl game. Who they got left?
Megan for
Yeah,
sure.
they'll get a
Yeah.
bowl game for sure. They can beat Arkansas. They can for sure beat Western Kentucky. So they'll be in a bowl game. Um, Another thing is, how about my Kentucky Wildcats beating Florida? Was it like 38-7?
Mm-hmm.
So how about that? It's pretty amazing.
Kentucky's biggest win of the year.
It's like their first home SEC conference win since like 2023 or something. Something crazy like that.
They get against terrible Florida. I feel so bad for DJ Lagway, bro.
Yeah, I think he's been benched.
Yeah, I think he's
They
thrown.
said 2 weeks in a row. Stoops, the coach for Kentucky, has got a coach fired and got a 5-star QB benched. But yeah, Jer. What was very, very disappointing was that Texas Tech BYU game. Did you get
I
to
thought
watch
that would be. I didn't watch it, but I thought that'd be closer. Oh,
BYU's first off, their special teams, 3 or 4 plays like their first opportunities of the game. They muff a punt, they shank a kick. Their special teams were terrible. There's one play where they call the quarterback for BYU. His nickname's Bear, and he's like 6 something, 265 pounds. He tries to hurdle a guy, and he gets basically suplexed like he's Brock Lesnar. That BYU never had a shot. That Texas Tech, man, that place was electric. Of course, Mahomes was there. Game day was there. I'm here to tell you, Texas Tech struggled mightily inside the red zone. Texas Tech could have scored 50, really. Texas Tech, I wasn't sure about them. Pretty sure about them now. They're good. Their defense is great. Their quarterback was banged up a little bit. That might lead to some of the problems in the red zone. But yeah, how about Oregon struggling? I know Phoenix a hard place to play, but Oregon having a last-second field goal to essentially walk it off there in Iowa.
And then back on Florida, DJ Lagway, he has not had a good year. 1,762 yards, 11 touchdowns, and here there's 12 interceptions. So just rough for him. Of course, you did have Billy Napier your freshman and sophomore year, and then he just gets fired. So
yeah, I think I read the rules are like whoever their new coach is, the players have 15 days to determine if they want to enter the portal and transfer or what. So if I'm him, I think I get out there and try to get a fresh start. But man, the way he's playing, who's he going to be enticing to? I know somebody will pick him up. I know that for sure. But it's been tough for him. I love when Louisville loses as a Kentucky fan. I love it. L's down.
Vanderbilt and Auburn went into overtime, but Vanderbilt ultimately coming away with a 45-38 victory.
In Nashville.
In Nashville, too. So
another upset. Washington goes down. So, Washington goes down. Louisville goes down. Virginia goes down. Iowa's taken to the brink. BYU's taken to the woodshed. Indiana was a toe touch away from going down. USC wins. Have you seen like that controversial play where like the punter, the quarterback came out with like a punter's number at the end of the game, and the punter threw like a trick play, fake punt for a first down, and even though they won 38-17, so there's a lot of talk about that on social media where this quarterback goes in, changes the number, comes back out. Look, if it's fair, do it. So Northwestern should have been ready, but that's kind of the little scuttlebutt from that particular game.
And then, if we're done looking at that, we can do rankings. Go ahead and do that. Right now, Ohio's still number 1, Indiana's still number 2, A&M number 3. A&M and those 3 are now your only undefeated teams. The A&M, Indiana, and Ohio being your only undefeated teams. Then 4, Alabama. 5, Georgia. 6, Ole Miss. 7, Oregon. 8, Texas Tech. 9, Notre Dame. 10 is Texas. I feel like that's probably a little high for Texas. What do you think?
I do. And I've said this before, so I've been consistent. They should have lost to Kentucky at Kentucky in overtime, and you can make an argument that they should have lost to Mississippi State. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they found a way to win, and that's all you can do. Still sitting there at 7-2. They say they're the best, excuse me, second best 7-2 team in the country behind Notre Dame. They beat Oklahoma. I get it. I just still think 10. I think 10 is a little high for them. But then as I look at this, I'm like, who do you put ahead of them? You know, they beat Oklahoma the way BYU looked. Do you move Vanderbilt in front of them? Is Vanderbilt better than Texas? You know, if they played head to head this year, I don't know. So correct me. Um, so I do think though, despite everything, Jared, they're that 10 to 13 range um, for this year because I look at the teams behind them and I have to ask myself who is better than them right now.
Mm-hmm. And then after them is Oklahoma, BYU at 12, Vanderbilt 13, Georgia Tech 14. Utah's 15th, Miami 16th, USC 17th, Michigan 18th, Louisville 19th, Virginia 20th, Tennessee 21, Cincinnati 22. The next three are new to the top 25, those three being Pittsburgh, James Madison, and then Southern Florida's back in.
South Florida's kind of in and out, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, Jerry. Your Vols are the only team with 3 losses. Granted, their schedule's been brutal, but they're the only team with 3 losses that have made the top 25.
Those 3 losses are to top 12
Mhm.
teams.
So their strength of schedule is being rewarded
Probably the only reason we're
as it should
not
be.
unranked.
As it should be. Yeah, their schedule's been crazy. They've already played Georgia. They've already played Bama. They've already played Oklahoma. You got to feel pretty confident that they can win out. Closing the year against Vanderbilt.
I feel confident they can upset Vanderbilt.
I think you got to feel pretty confident about them winning out. They've got New Mexico State, Florida at Florida, and then home on Rocky Top to Vandy. So if you're Tennessee, Jerry, you're feeling pretty good. Nothing wrong with losses to Georgia, Bama, 2 top 5 teams right now.
They could have been Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma.
Could have been Oklahoma.
And again, they only lost by 6, and had some pretty uncharacteristic plays, turnovers and mishaps, especially by Aguilar, I feel like, as we watched that game.
That didn't look like Tennessee football.
No, Jared made us turn it off.
At halftime, I just turned it off.
Well, that's cool. We got some sports memorabilia stuff, so it worked out.
And then over in the coaches poll, it's the same until you get to number 6. The coaches have Oregon at 6, Ole Miss at 7th, Texas Tech, Notre Dame. They have Oklahoma and Texas swapped. They have Georgia Tech up to 12th. BYU, they have BYU down to 13th. They have Vanderbilt down to 14th. They have Utah staying put. Miami staying put. They have Michigan and USC flipped.
Yeah.
I don't know what the coaches are thinking on that one. Granted, it is college football coaches. They know the best, but USC won that head-to-head, so that's what I'm thinking. And
you
then,
don't have to bring that up, though. You don't have to bring that up. Still a sore spot.
And then they have Virginia at 19th. They took Louisville down to 21st, moved Tennessee to 20th. Then Cincinnati, they have Cincinnati staying put at 22nd, Pittsburgh staying put at 23rd. They have Missouri in the top 25 instead of South Florida, and they have James Madison at 25th.
Give some love to James Madison. Dropping from the rankings on the AP, Missouri out, Memphis out, Washington out, and dropping from the rankings in the coaches poll, Memphis out, Iowa out. North Dakota State, still good. Montana also still good. Montana State.
Just that one vote for Montana.
Also still good. South Dakota State, still good. Here's what's interesting, okay? We're going this FCS. I know we just talked about Kentucky, but number 6 in the FCS coaches poll, 10-0. They play the Kentucky Wildcats this weekend. The Tennessee Tech, out of the FCS. They're 10-0, and they're playing Kentucky and Lexington this weekend. Crazier things have happened.
Let's see what they got going on here. They give UK a 94.4%
I
chance.
do think Kentucky wins that game, but how do you feel if you invite an FCS team to come in and they roll in their 10-0? You're like, okay, our scheduling guy's fired. We'll go probably homecoming or something like that. But
$12 a ticket.
yeah,
So I think that'll be a fun one to watch.
it'll be
I
fun.
don't think it'll be close.
I don't either. It's just
But
interesting. Hey, we scheduled a cupcake. What's the record? 10-0.
so Tennessee Tech though, that's a nice school they got. It's a nice campus.
Yeah.
We'll cover these more on Thursday, but we'll look into next week for
Yeah,
college football.
let's scroll through here, Jared, just like you said, so we have something to talk about on Thursday. Scroll through
Alabama,
here and
Oklahoma, and Tuscaloosa.
see who your kind of most intriguing game is. Texas, Georgia.
Tennessee's a 40-point favorite on New Mexico State. That's crazy. I guess they're doing a lot for. Yeah, Joey has 8 interceptions. So he threw his first pick against Georgia. So how many weeks ago was that?
4.
That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's thrown an interception every game since then. So I mean, Joey's done great. He's definitely exceeded my expectations for a guy that's coming from App State and um, going straight into Tennessee. Joey loves it in Tennessee. I saw a post earlier today from one of the Tennessee fan pages I follow. Let me see if it'll pull up here.
While you're pulling that up, here's something really interesting. Michigan plays Northwestern. Northwestern Stadium is under construction, so they're playing at Wrigley Field.
Oh yeah, I saw a post about that. The rest of the Northwestern's games are going to be at Wrigley. But quarterback Joey Aguilar said he definitely wishes he'd done more than one season at Tennessee, but he said perspective is key and that most people never get to spend even one season at a place like Tennessee. That he's blessed and very grateful to be there. So
That's how you
good
handle
guy.
it. That's how you handle it. With everything that happened with, you know, the quarterback swap or trade, as it were, with your favorite quarterback going out there.
At the time, favorite quarterback.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Apparently he's like a big Christian too. Him and his girlfriend are both very strong Christians. But I think the biggest game this week is either 5-11 Georgia Texas. So we get to see, is Texas really deserving of that 11th spot? UCLA Ohio, and then Alabama Oklahoma. I think the best game is probably Alabama Oklahoma.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Yep.
Because
Texas Georgia intriguing though.
It is. Texas Tech, UCF, Virginia, Duke. Duke's the favorite for that game. Looking at that, so they're ESPN saying back-to-back upsets for Virginia. Do you think they'll drop Virginia from the rankings if this happens?
Yeah, if you lose, you know, to who they lose to last week, Wake,
Mm-hmm.
and you lose to Duke, I don't see how you can stay ranked. They're borderline right now of
Yeah.
losing out on the ACC championship game,
If
and
they
they're on the outside of the playoff looking in already.
if they lose this game, their 3 losses will be NC State, Wake Forest, Duke, Wake Forest, and Duke back to back.
Mhm.
So I think Virginia probably shouldn't even be 14 right now. In the thing, because I don't think you should be 14th ranked and your 2 losses are Wake Forest and NC State.
Fair point. A very, very, very fair point. If they lose this week, they need to be out, top 25, out.
Mm-hmm. Not down to 23rd. Just kick them out. So that's Georgia Tech, Boston College.
Boston College 1-9. Eek. Right. Wow.
Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, intriguing to say the least. Notre Dame the favorite by 12.5. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that should have some playoff implications for Pittsburgh.
Oh, it definitely will. Whoever loses this game is out as far as the playoff. 3 losses it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to get out. Notre Dame is at a disadvantage because they're not in the conference, so they
Mm-hmm.
can't get one of those 5 spots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're counting on that at large or whatever. You've got James Madison, playing the way they're playing. Some really good teams in the Big 12. It's much bigger for Notre Dame than Pittsburgh, in my opinion, because Pittsburgh still has a shot. If things shake the right way, they have an ACC championship game that could essentially be their wild card, right? Could be their ace in the hole. If Notre Dame loses a third game and they don't have a championship game to kind of bail them out, I think it's a lot harder for them. So I think there's more pressure again on Notre Dame than there is on Pittsburgh, because a lot of those teams in the ACC are around that 7-2, 6-3, 2 loss. Miami 2 losses. Virginia 2 losses. Pittsburgh 2 losses. Louisville lost last week. So I think Notre Dame, their margin for error, not just this game, but week in and week out, is much smaller because they're not part of a conference in football.
Mm-hmm. Why do they not join a conference? Money, or are they just refusing to? Because you said their basketball's in the ACC.
Yeah, their basketball's in ACC, which I think I could be totally wrong. Don't at me or whatever, but I think in basketball they're in the ACC. So in football they're contractually obligated to play so many ACC teams, but they're also allowed to build out their schedule the way that they want to. Why they don't just go ahead and join a conference? It's probably tradition. I mean,
Mhm.
Notre Dame does have one of the greatest, traditional, as far as tradition. When you think about Ohio State, Michigan, USC, those top, you think about Notre Dame when you think about college football. So I think it's tradition as much as anything else, but I think there might be a little more pressure than ever before to join a conference, because again, you don't have that playoff or that excuse me conference championship game to help you in case you do
Because now you
have a
can't.
loss.
Now you can't just be a top 4 team in the country. You have to be.
Yeah,
You have to win these conference championships. Now you
right.
have to
It's like
be
NASCAR.
strong.
It's the surefire way to get you in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a surefire way to get you in. And if you lose, you're 7-3, and you don't have a conference. And right
Mm-hmm.
now, you're already on the edge, ranked 10th, right? Only 12
Mm-hmm.
get in, so you're already at the back of the bus. As far as lining up to be towards, when I say the front of the bus, those leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You're already at the back of the line. So
And right now in
yeah,
the playoff rankings, Notre Dame's 10th. So I think wherever they finally finish is where they'll just go in the playoffs, I
yeah,
guess.
a lot of teams ahead of
So
them,
you're
especially if they
wanting
lose.
to, and then you got, of course, ahead of them, they got Oregon and Indiana and Ohio. So one of those 3 teams, or 2 of those 3 teams, will most likely be in the Big Ten championship. Those 2 most likely be in Ohio and Indiana, but Oregon's still dominant. And then you got the probably the most likely Big 12 matchup between Texas Tech, BYU. Then of course you got a lot of SEC, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, A&M. Then just behind you, you got 2 more SEC of Texas and Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Notre Dame right now. I think, like you said, if they lose another game, which looks very unlikely, looking at those last 3, I think we got 3 weeks left of college football.
Of the regular season. Yeah, we're in
Oh my! But
November. But man, look at the teams that Notre Dame's played: Miami, A&M,
and then
USC.
that was good Miami too.
And
That
yeah,
was when
that was early.
that was early
Um,
Miami, and then A&M. So
Again,
yeah, a lot
USC,
of pressure on the Fighting Irish right now.
Navy. Navy was playing well, had a good
Mm-hmm.
record. They win this game, they're probably in the playoff because it's Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, Syracuse, Stanford, Pitt, all ACC teams, NC State, an ACC team. So some of those teams, they're contractually obligated to play because of I guess because of basketball, and it's part of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
The only other independent team is UConn. UConn in football, 7-3. Somebody talk about that. Fighting Bobby Hurley's.
So that is the NCAA. That everything we have for the
I
NCAA
think so.
football.
So we have a little bit to talk about on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So we can go on to men's basketball in the NCAA. We can probably. It's so hard to cover basketball because there's so many games daily. I guess we go back to when we last recorded, so Thursday. So we can go ahead and look at games from Friday, Saturday, and Monday. Look at what games have probably intrigued us. Not much from today. Only 3 games on today, and none of them were too intriguing.
Yeah, I like.
So
I'm a Kentucky fan. They they beat Valparaiso 107-59.
probably
Jaden Lowe was back, so we got our point guard back. Again, I'll go to it. This will be my take home for. I like that you're seeing some of these early matchups. Kansas, North Carolina, for example, going to Chapel Hill. Can you imagine Kansas, North Carolina in Chapel Hill?
2 blue bloods.
2 literal blue bloods. And then Saturday, you had Alabama beating St. John's. You had Arkansas at Michigan State, just up the road from where Louis live. Oklahoma, who always plays well, against Gonzaga. So you have some really intriguing, really fun early season matchups. The one that I cannot get my mind around is actually taking place this Tuesday, because this game belongs the week between Christmas and New Year. I will die on that hill. But here we are, game 3 of the regular season, and we're already talking Kentucky Louisville. Louisville's a 3.5-point favorite. The game is in the Yum Center in Loserville. I just can't wrap my head around that. That's the 3rd game of the year now. That's so crazy to me. Louisville is, already kind of chirping and talking. You've got, I just went blank on the guy's name, but there's a guy, he scores 6 points a game. And after a press conference, he says bleep, and I'll let you fill in the bleep. Them talking about bleep. Kentucky, by the way, Detroit just won. They had to go in overtime, but the Pistons beat Washington. So that's what their 7th win in a row. Are fighting Detroit Pistons. And that Louisville's coach is like, oh, it's just who he is and whatever. So I think Payne's the player's name, something like that. He averages 6 a game. And he's like, bleep Louisville, I'll see you guys on Tuesday, or bleep Kentucky, excuse me, I'll see you guys Tuesday after a win. That rivalry doesn't need any of that. It's already one of the greatest rivalries in college sports. But back to my point, those early games, Texas Tech, Illinois. So I like Gonzaga, Creighton. I like that early in the year you're seeing some of these big time matchups.
And then, what would you give game of the weekend between Friday and right now? I'd probably give it to Alabama St. John's.
Yeah, I think so.
With Alabama just coming in there and getting business done.
At Madison Square Garden. Essentially a home game for St. John's. St. John's outscored Bama in the second half, 52-50. Bama's win essentially comes from a 53-44 lead that they carried into the half. I think that to go on the road and beat a top 5 team, I think that's awesome. I think Michigan State, Arkansas, Calipari Izzo, second game of the year is just at the Breslin Center, just unbelievable. If only your Tennessee Vols would play somebody.
They will. And I think Cameron Boozer might win Player of the Year. By how he played in the preseason and by how he's done so far in the regular season, I think Cameron Boozer has been the best player in college basketball, and probably right now I think he might be Player of the Year as of right now. Against when they played Texas, he had 15, but then he had 25 the very next game. Then they play Army, Indiana, and Kansas the next 3 for the Blue Devils. What do you think right now? What player or players have caught your attention, or what teams really?
kind of a homer pick, but you have Otega Oweh for Kentucky. Um, I wish I knew his name, but man, there's a kid on BYU
Oh, that freshman that they have.
that man people are really talking about. I can't pronounce his name. AJ Dabansta, I guess. I
Yeah,
think that's him.
I think like the three that were on there were
He's getting a lot of love early. A
yeah,
freshman.
him, Boozer,
Boozer.
and Nate Ament were all on the watch list for Player of the Year and Freshman of the Year. So they're thinking whoever wins Freshman of the Year is going to win Player of the Year. And right now the three runner-ups are Tennessee freshman Nate Ament, AJ on BYU, and then Boozer on Duke. So I think his brother is also on Duke, Cameron
Mm-hmm.
Boozer. I can't remember his brother's name though. They're both the Boozer twins. Their father is Carlos Boozer. I think that's his first name, but yes, Carlos Boozer is their dad. Cameron and Caden. Of course, Carlos Boozer, NBA All Star. Was he in the? I think he was on the Olympic team too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a dog.
First early preseason All Americans. If this plays out, you got Braden Smith, the guard out of Purdue. Darren Peterson, also a freshman out of Kansas. They're calling him one of the best freshman point guards Sports Illustrated is
Mm-hmm.
to hit basketball in a generation. Freshman. This kid we're talking about out of BYU, AJ Dibansta. Please forgive me for mispronouncing that. Then you have JT Toppin out of Texas Tech. I wonder if he's like part of the OB, that Toppin crew. Cameron Boozer, Duke, to your point. Then second team, Bennett Sturts out of Iowa. Donovan Dent, UCLA. Otega Oweh out of Kentucky. Trey Kaufman-Wren out of Purdue. And then Yaxel Lindenborg out of Michigan, who almost went to Kentucky. So those are kind of guys you want to look at. LeBarion Fillion out of Alabama, Emmanuel Sharp out of Houston, Darion Williams out of NC State, Thomas Howe out of Florida, and Zuby Ejiofor, St. John's.
Crazy, bro.
So that's who Sports Illustrated at least kind of likes. Kind of coming into the year, that's your first, second, and third preseason All-American teams.
So yeah. And then looking at what's coming up over the next couple of days, like we talked about earlier, Kentucky, Louisville, Texas Tech, 11 Texas Tech taking on 14 Illinois. So that should be a good one. Illinois favorites by 3.5, of course. Illinois is a tough team to play whenever they get another ranked team on them.
Check this out. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but Thursday, 7 p.m. on ESPN2, that's Eastern Time, Purdue at Alabama.
That'll be a fun one, especially with what Alabama just did to St. John's. So that'll be interesting to watch. Nothing going on Wednesday. Just North Florida and Tennessee, and then Oakland, Houston. So not bad for the NCAA so far. New top 25 did come out for that as well. So if we want to go ahead and look at that, we can.
Go Blue.
All right. Right now in the rankings, been a quick fire here. But number 1, Houston. Number 2, Purdue. Number 3, UConn. Number 4, Duke. Number 5, Arizona. Number 6, Michigan. Number 7, BYU. Number 8, Alabama. Number 9, Kentucky. Number 10, Florida. Number 11, Texas Tech. Number 12, Louisville. Number 13, St. John. Number 14, Illinois. Number 15, UCLA. Number 16, Iowa State. Number 17, Michigan State. Number 18, North Carolina. Number 19, Gonzaga. Number 20, Tennessee. Number 21, Arkansas. Number 22, Auburn. Number 23, Creighton. Number 24, Wisconsin. Then number 25 is Kansas. The teams that all got a vote to be number 1 was Houston, Purdue, UConn, Duke, Michigan, and Alabama Purdue, receiving the most at 36. So in the next AP, probably don't be surprised if Purdue comes back to number one.
Yeah, they're as far as points, Purdue and Houston, they feel like they're neck and neck. As Jeremiah said, they have more first place votes, but overall votes, Houston 1,462, Purdue 1,459. So 3 votes. So I think you can see a trend there. Coaches poll have Purdue ahead of Houston. 21 first place votes for Purdue, 7 to Houston. It's early, but Kentucky's 9 and Tennessee's 20.
How many games does college play? 30? No, wait, 40?
35, 40.
35.
Yeah, when it's, it depends on how far you go in your conference tournament, how far you go in March. 30, 35 for sure.
So that's so far the NCAA for the men's. So extremely early, but who is your national champions as of right now for NCAA basketball?
Oh man, I think based on what I've seen and point guards and what people are saying, I know my Cats beat them in an exhibition / preseason game, but I'm really watching Purdue to see what they can be. Man, like you said, it's so early. Let me give a 1A and 1B. Watch out for Alabama, to roll into Madison Square Garden.
Oh, I bet you said that.
And do what they did. Especially, we're going to see those two teams play, right? Bama and Purdue. So if you ask me, way so early, I think the winner of that Bama Purdue game is going to set themselves up for a potential. I know it's early. You have injuries, God forbid. You have different things. You have conference schedules where teams just beat each other up in their own conference. But Alabama always has great guard play. They always play so incredibly hard. They're always big. They're always physical. They always rebound. You feel like you're in a dog fight when you play them. But I will say this, not just because I'm a homer, but if Kentucky stays healthy, and there's multiple outlets that I've read, ESPN said this on an article I read today, maybe some other places too. I just kind of glanced as I'm scrolling through Instagram and whatnot. Kentucky is the deepest team. So I'm watching out for Purdue. I'm watching out for Alabama. I'm watching out for Kentucky. And then it's good to see Michigan good again. But Duke with the Boozers and the way John Shire has those guys playing. But long answer. I'm going actually Alabama over Purdue.
Mine will probably be. I'm just gonna go really high on Duke again this year because once again they have a good young team, like they did last year with Flag and Knoepel and all those guys they had last year. So give me Duke. That's my early pick because Boozer, Cameron, he had over 20 in all their preseason games, I believe, and then he's already averaging 20 right now. So I'd say Duke. I think, is that all we have for the NCAA men's basketball?
I think so. If Kentucky wins tomorrow night, I'll have a lot more to say on Thursday. If they lose, I'm calling in sick.
We can go on to NASCAR's silly season. We let NASCAR get a little deep. If you want to go ahead and remind people what silly season is, before we go ahead and get started with that.
Silly season is the off season. Silly season kind of refers to a game of musical chairs, as you will. There are only so many cars. Each of those cars has a seat for the driver, and there's only so many that you can fill. You have drivers who are getting older. You have up-and-coming drivers. You have drivers who struggle. So silly season refers to rumors, but also refers to, much like the game musical chairs, you typically have one more person than you have chairs, right? And that person's eliminated and so on and so forth. It kind of refers to that. When the music stops playing, who's going to have a seat, who's not going to have a seat, who's going to have a ride, and who's not going to have a ride. For example, silly season started a little early when Suarez, was made public that Trackhouse was moving on from Daniel Suarez in the 99, that Connor Zilic was going to come up
Mm-hmm.
and essentially drive that car, even though the 99 car, as far as the door number, will not be on the track next year. It'll be the 88 of Zilic. It'll be the 97 instead of the 88 for SVG. And then Ross Chastain will remain in the one. And all of a sudden, you look at Trackhouse and you're like,
That's a contender.
you're looking more.
Because you got Chastain, who went almost to the round of 8 this year. You got SVG, who made the playoffs and can destroy road courses. And then you got up-and-coming Connor Zilic, who probably needs no introduction, but destroyed the Xfinity Series.
And is mad.
And he's coming in a little
And is
hot.
mad.
And he's taking his owner's number, his
Yep.
former owner's number.
Which is cool.
Give it 2 to 3 years, Trackhouse, powerhouse.
So Jared, I don't want to take very much time, man, but just there's 22 drivers according to NASCAR.com
These are the biggest
to look at.
moves so far.
These are the musical chairs that we're talking about.
So, you want me to
so-
take this one because I got his eye.
Do it, yeah. You've
Okay.
met this man.
So Zane Smith, me and Raymond, we were able to get an autograph with him at Talladega. He was doing a interview, and we were able to get a quick autograph and picture with him. But Zane Smith, he drives for Front Row Motorsports. He drives the number 38 car. He signed a multi-year extension, so that 38 car is locked up by him for the next couple of years.
Which is great for Front Row. He's an
Mhm.
incredible talent, young guy. He's going to win races.
He also brought them a Craftsman Truck Series championship
Yeah.
in 2022.
So they're staying with his crew chief, which is big.
Mhm.
As you mentioned, Front Row is where he won the Craftsman Truck Series championship.
He's been strong. He's a strong young
22.
driver. So
So good for Front Row, good for Zane.
mhm,
We've already talked about Suarez.
the one that kicked all this off.
Spire Motorsports, picking him up after, not picking up Justin Haley's, contract. So he's moving essentially from Suarez moving from Trackhouse over to Spire Motorsports. Spire Motorsports, essentially a satellite team of Hendrick Motorsports. But Suarez will be driving that 7 next year for Spire Motorsports. Again, previously Trackhouse Racing, they revealed this on July 1st, according to NASCAR.com, that the Suarez and Trackhouse, Justin Marks, mutually agreed to part ways following this season. Suarez 2 Cup wins, and he's reached the playoffs in 22 and last year in 24. Now you look at Spire, and you have McDowell, you have Hocevar, and you have Suarez.
All three of those drivers can win you a race.
So I think Spire got better. I think Trackhouse got better.
Mhm.
Front Row is continuing to get better. So that's the third. I'll go through these fast here because I know you got some NBA to talk about. We've already talked about Zilic, who won 10 races in the Xfinity Series last year
Mhm.
for Junior Motorsports.
He's going to be 19 when that starts, by the way.
Didn't win the championship, but now full time with Trackhouse Racing. I will tell you, when you go to the racetrack, when Trackhouse gets there. Their stuff is so clean,
Mhm.
so sharp. But 19-year-old Phenom is going to be in that 88 car for Trackhouse, coming up from the Xfinity Series, coming up from Junior Motorsports in that number 88 that many drivers have made famous, but most recently Dale Earnhardt Jr. That number is coming back. I think the last time that was in the series was Bowman had it for Hendrick years ago when they did the ride swap
Oh,
and
for
all
the
that
Cup
stuff for
Series?
the Cup Series.
Shane had it last year.
Oh, we're talking about full time.
Oh,
Sorry,
full
yeah,
time.
good point. Denny, man, a lot of folks after the championship race weren't sure what he was going to do. At that point, who can blame him? I hope people don't read too much into that. He said, I don't know at this point if I want to ever drive a race car again. Who can blame him for feeling that way, the way he lost that championship? You can go
He
back and
signed
look
an
at
extension through 2027, so I think after this contract expires, I think this is when Denny Hamlin retires, championship or not.
I don't think you pick him back up. I think you've got Corey Heim waiting in
Because
the wings.
he'll be 47 by that time.
He will. But again, he's not going anywhere. William Byron, 4-year deal extension in the 24 with Hendrick.
Dude, if they get rid of Bowman, Hendrick's gonna be so good. Of course, I'm a big Bowman hater, as you know, but he's done nothing.
Nothing. SVG, now he'll be in the 97 as opposed to the what number was he last year?
88.
Was he, so forgive me. So he did run the 88. Did run last year, full time. But when I think about the 88, forgive me, I think about Dale Earnhardt Jr. I think about Dale Jarrett and those guys. So, yeah, SVG's back. Jesse Love is coming back to RCR. He'll be driving the number 2 again in Xfinity.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Corey Day,
next year.
big pickup here. He's going to be driving that number 7 in Xfinity. I'm going to compete full time in what was the Xfinity Series, now is the O'Reilly Parts Series.
That dude's going to be a
And that
stud,
number 17,
probably.
the dude's a stud. Be Hendrick's first full season entry. So not only that, even if you can't drive, you're driving a Hendrick car. So that being said, lots of pressure on that young man.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of
Because
pressure.
if you be on a Hendrick, they're going to expect you to run probably not a championship, because this is Hendrick's first time in the Xfinity Series or O'Reilly Series since since 2006. So they're going to at least expect you to make playoffs. They're not going to expect, probably not going to expect a championship, because you still got RCR. You'll still have Junior Motorsports, of course. But they're not going to probably expect championship, but they're going to probably expect a playoff run and maybe a deep playoff run at most.
You just signed to play for the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Celtics. I mean, you just pressure. Harrison Burton, he's not coming back to the 25 in the Xfinity. So he's going to announce a plan later. Harrison won the essentially late summer race in Daytona last year, made the playoffs, the son of Jeff Burton. But as of now, still looking for a ride.
He's going to be in Sam Hunt Racing.
That's I was about to say. This, as you scroll down, you see he did find a ride. Dean Thompson and Harrison Burton are the full-time drivers for Sam Hunt. Why they put that story that way, I'll never know. So A&M Racing, he's out, and Sam Hunt says, sweet, I'll go pick him back up. Sammy Smith very happily returning back to the Junior Motorsports stable. Parker Resloff joining Viking Racing. Ryan Ellis, again, Young Motorsports. In the O'Reilly used to be Xfinity Series. Dodge Ram, coming to the Truck Series and bringing a powerhouse team with it in Colleague Racing. So, again, a new manufacturer coming to Craftsman Truck Series with Ram, bringing a great team with it, Colleague Racing, Matt Colleague and Rice. So that's going to be fun, going to be interesting. Brandon Butterbean McQueen, going to be joining Colleague Racing in one of those Rams. Justin Haley also going to be driving one of those Rams, going from the Cup Series to the Truck Series. So basically from the big leagues to what, AA?
AA.
Brandon Dye also going to drive. That's a pretty good stable. Daniel Dye, Justin Haley, and Brandon McQueen. So
that'll be a
that's going to be a
team in
solid
couple
team.
years.
Watch out for the Rams and Colleague Racing in the Truck Series.
Crafton retired. Majeski going to the 88 for
Right.
Thor Motorsports.
Yep.
Lane Riggs signs a deal. Another good pickup for front row.
Deserves it. Big time.
If he didn't get in all that trouble he did in that next round, he would definitely been in the championship for the Truck Series.
Tyler Ankrum back in the 19 Napa Chevy.
Glad they were able to keep him.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
On to the NBA.
So, yep, on
All right.
to the
I
NBA.
will see you guys later.
Off he goes. And go ahead and get stuff pulled up here. Eagles scored. All right. I'll just go over today. So Monday, the Lakers beat the Hornets. Luka with 38, 6, and 7. And then Miles Bridges with 34. as we mentioned earlier, the Pistons come back and beat the um, Wizards. Pistons are now number one team in the East. Kate Cunningham with a triple double. With oh my goodness, yes, 46, 5, 46, 12, and 11. 14 of 45 though, from the field, but they still got it done. The Jazz Lanier playing 27 minutes. Love to see it. Um, so yeah, it looks like it was a interesting game for sure, but still good for the number one team in the East of the Pistons. Magic beat the Trailblazers, and then Spurs beat the Bulls. Bulls down to 6-4 now. I know Giddy is hurt, but Wemby with a great game, 38 and 12, coming in with 5 blocks. Going on right now, the Heat and Cavs are in a close one in overtime, 138 to 135. Donovan Mitchell is right now the best performer for the Cavs at 25, 14, and 8. Then Jaime Jaquez Jr. with 22, 13, and 7. Mavericks are being the Bucks. I know Cooper Flag wasn't too happy with the slow start that the Mavericks are having. Of course, your role players aren't doing too well. Clay's shooting at a career low. AD's hurt again. Kyrie is out for until January. So it's right now the best player on that team is an 18-year-old Cooper Flag. Um, right now Cooper with 19 and 6 being the best performer for the Mavericks, and then Giannis being the best performer for the Bucks, of course, at 15 and 3. Suns are being the Pelicans 79 to 54. I think the Suns are now starting to get things figured out. The Timberwolves are being the Jazz. Then Hawks and Clippers will play later tonight. Um, right now, there are a lot of talks around John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. A big, big, can't find the word. The team to look out for basically is the Minnesota Timberwolves for to get John Morant. That's right now the biggest favorite. I've seen trade packages where people think that that the Wolves will send um Rob Dillingham and a few other assets and picks to the Grizzlies for John Morant. That'd be a crazy pickup for the Timberwolves. Because they got Anthony Edwards, who's probably arguably top 5 player in the world. Is only 24 years old right now and averages 25, 3, and 2. Um, so I think if they could get Ja right there as a backup option that can average 20 as well, Timberwolves could finally get that ring that they've been wanting. Because this team, they're coming off back-to-back Western Conference appearances where they later on lost to Dallas and Oklahoma City. So it's a really good team that Minnesota's got, and probably be even better if they get John Morant. So tomorrow on the 11th, the Raptors and Nets will play. Grizzlies will play the Knicks. Not good. Celtics will play the 76ers. Warriors play the Thunder. Pacers will play the Jazz. Nuggets will play the Kings. Kings are another favorite for John Moran as well. Those two teams have been calling in, checking on the situation. I could see Ja realistically going to Minnesota than Sacramento. I just feel like Minnesota has the stuff they can do for that. And then looking at the standings here, Detroit is number one in the East. Behind them is Cleveland, New York, Miami, Milwaukee, and then Chicago. Then the next few are Philly, Toronto, Atlanta, and Boston. Over in the West, Oklahoma City leading that side. 10-1 are the Thunder with Shea still doing pretty well. Then the Spurs are 8-2, Denver 7-2, LA Lakers 8-3. Houston is 6-3. Houston trying finally getting their feet under them. Minnesota at 6-4. Golden State at 6-5. Portland at 5-5. Phoenix at 5-5, and then Memphis at 4-7. New Orleans right now down there at 2-7. Then Dallas down there at 2-7. Right now, the longest active streak in the NBA goes to the Pistons. They have won their last 7 in a row. Best team in the entire league is, of course, Oklahoma City, behind Detroit, and then San Antonio right there. Good. So the NBA is starting to get underway. Of course, still got all the gambling drama. But still good. My early NBA champs as of right now, I'd probably give it to Detroit. Grant, we are only 11 games into the season. But right now, my finals will probably be Oklahoma, Detroit. Detroit wins it. But anything can happen right now. It's still early. I just like the moves that Detroit made over the offseason with them signing Duncan Robinson. And then Jalen Green and Kate Cunningham have been playing really well. Jalen Duren's only 21 years old, but man, he is a top 10 center in the league so far. And then Katie's an all-star. He just put his head down, got to work in Detroit. It's just crazy. Yeah, 2 years ago, this time 2 years ago, the Pistons were the worst team in the entire league. They set a record of 28 straight losses. Then last year they finished sixth, I believe, in the East. Probably should have won that first round against New York, but didn't. But yeah, they lost Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley over the offseason. And then they get two players that are a lot like that back. They get Duncan Robinson and then Chaz Lanier out of the draft. Both are solid 3-point shooters and then pretty good 3-point shooters. So, and then of course they got Tobias Harris, who's a really good backup. So Detroit just has a really good roster put together right now. And right now, I think they are the best team in the NBA, and right now are my champions. So hopefully, I'm correct about that. I don't know, but the NBA is underway. Sports is underway. Just a great time of the year. We are in November, so everything's in full swing right now. Of course, MLB is giving out its awards, wrapping up a little bit into the season. NASCAR is in silly season. So just glad sports are back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I don't know, comment, share, like. just we just hope y'all like this. We're doing this only for fun. We don't care if it blows up or not. We just do it for fun. So thank you and take care.